Hey you guys, it's Roman from Inner Strength with another short video that Charles Barone and I put together back in the summertime. Now, I think you're going to find this video particularly interesting, especially if you've been studying with us at Inner Strength for a while, because in this video we go over 3 elements that really don't get a lot of press out there in the yoga industry nowadays, primarily because most of the yoga that's being offered out there is largely based on the physical body and systematically do all they can do to avoid the student from coming into themselves. Now, what Inner Strength represents is just that, the strength that abides inside of you. Now, what these 3 elements will do for you once they're understood and applied to practice is be yet another tool that we can utilize to continue to sculpt our spirituality, to strengthen internally, and to step back into the world as the best possible, most authentic version of ourselves. Okay, so what I want you to do is I want you to carve out a couple minutes of your time, it's not a long video, to sit back and relax and to absorb the material. Thanks again for allowing us to do this for you.
Charles, welcome. You know, I'm really glad that you're a part of our leadership team. You're going to be leading a part of the teacher training in September. The community at Inner Strength and I revere you as having an encyclopedic knowledge of the subject matter of yoga. So I appreciate you joining me. How was class today?
Class was good. Class was good. You know, we moved a lot of that subject matter. People felt it, and like any season, this is one where people want to release stress. You know, you can really hear it in people's practice, in their breath, in their oming. It's really apparent.
You know, I'm glad that you brought that up, because that's one of the reasons why I invited you here to talk today, was a little bit about symbolism, like Om. Would you mind sitting down and talking a little bit more about it?
Absolutely.
Well, I'm really glad that we're able to connect on this, because I was traveling not too long ago. I went into a yoga class and the teacher said, you know, we don't Om here. And it didn't sit well with me, because as you know, we do 3 Oms in the beginning and 3 Oms at the end of each class. Perhaps you can bring a little bit more clarity to the viewer of this video around some of the symbolism that they might encounter in our studio or any studio. Can we start with Om? I mean, that's pretty much the predominant symbol that's in most yoga studios.
You see that in every yoga studio. Usually that symbol is as unreligious as you can get, because it's a symbol which represents a sound. Now, the way we bring clarity to symbolism is to understand that the symbol itself is an object in and of itself. Without our interpretation, it means nothing. In class, you've heard me liken that symbolism to money, or energy to money. Without purchasing something, your money has no value until you make a choice to use it. With symbolism, it's very similar. The tone Om, the symbol of Om, it means nothing until we either value it, interpret it, or until we learn or bring it into a practical place. So the symbol of Om, I like to see as 3-part. We have A, U, U, and M. They're the first, middle, and last letters of the Hindu Sanskrit alphabet. And we use them practically by creating the tone in our body. At the beginning of class, we start in the belly, we move through the heart, through the throat, and we end somewhere in the nasal. And by doing that sound, we're not just tapping into something religious or something arcane. We're actually moving sound through our being, and we're cleansing away excesses. We're tuning the body like an instrument. Now, if we look at the symbol itself, it has a little 3 shape almost, a little line between that and a dot. Now that symbol might not mean much, but if we look at it, the 3 shape at the base, just like low tone in our belly, represents matter. As we move upward, we move through mind or through the understanding. And then we get even higher to that 1 point, and that represents consciousness.
We also experience other symbols, like the symbol of Ganesha, you know, the elephant.
Sure.
How can we bring a little bit more clarity to that symbolism?
I mean, for someone that doesn't have a history with that symbolism, it's going to be alien, perhaps, to their values. If we look at it for what it is, it's an elephant, has 1 tusk. It represents the building or the taking down of obstacle. And we can liken that to other cultures. I mean, St. Anthony is one in the Christian culture. It's an obstacle remover for people. They pray to it, just like in Hinduism. But really, what we need to do, and you said there's beginning, middle, and end, and every yoga class is just that. Hatha means from sun to moon. We start with energy, with the light, and we end in that shadow. We look inward, and we take a little bit of that light with us to squelch that fear. To look at a symbol, we have to first understand ourself as the symbol. So Ganesh is the builder and remover of obstacle, but the self is the experiencer of reality. And if I end up attaching to a particular symbol of self, polluted by my own interpretations, polluted by my own story, I'll never get to the essential self. In a yoga class, we move through obstacle. We accumulate all that stress, all that energy, that movement, just to let it go, just to put it into decay. And in corpse pose, we're not dying to anything. We're simply letting go. So what's naturally there already, so the essence can shine through. And it's the very same with a symbol. If we let go of our attachment to that symbol, if we turn it into something practical, then its meaning will shine through for us in our lives.
So in a very real way, having these particular symbols is a practice in and of itself. Like placing that symbol on a sill or a shelf is a practice for the individual.
Absolutely. Something to aspire to even, or something to emulate.
One of the other symbols that is replete in the yoga industry is that symbol of Nataraj. It's like that circle of fire with that dancing person right in the middle.
Yeah.
What?
And it is a person. We could call it a deity. And we have that form. You know, when I see you in dancers pose, you feel a similar energy with someone when you see them breathing in a posture that is full of expression. Now, Kali, the character in that ring of fire in the dancer's posture, she destroys worlds. She has a ring of skulls around her neck on a necklace. And she wears those skulls as a representation of how the enemy to the essential self is so easily destroyed.
So another important distinction to make is the difference between Kali and Shiva. Shiva is traditionally opposed to Shakti. Shiva represents consciousness, or the divine void, or the witness, whereas Shakti is the energetic principle or the form that manifests within it. Kali is an embodiment of Shiva. When Lord Shiva exists, Lord Shiva is complete power and emptiness. When Lord Shiva is death or destruction, it becomes Lord Kali, sometimes called the Black Lord of Time, because Kala is essentially that. Kala is darkness. Kala is that which devours through time. And again, when we're talking about Kali, we're just talking about one face of Shiva, the face of Shiva that destroys through time.
In our yoga class, you may have heard a term called Agni. Agni derives the word ignite. And what we do with Agni, we move the body, we move the breath. We make malleable our stagnant body, our stagnant soul. We allow things stuck to arise. And as we breathe, we lift them to the surface. Each exhale cuts a little bit of that excess away. And much like the confusion that would surround a symbol or a system, the more we go inward into that symbol, make it a part of who we are, the more we can cut away the confusion that surrounds it. And in the same way as Kali, dancing and expressing, building that fire, in the same way Ganesh takes obstacle and removes it, in the same way we travel up through Om in our breath and back down to ground, we're following a process. Each one of those processes, if conscious, takes us closer to that essential nature.
It's very interesting. You know, I couldn't be more excited to have you contribute on our teacher training. I feel that each time that you've contributed in the past, by bringing this esoteric thread, this new perspective, it really helps to deepen the student's experience on the mat. And with that deepening, they're able to take that with them as they step back into the world.
That's the hardest part about this industry, is keeping the symbols, which are old, very old, keeping our practice, which happens every day, and plateaus, relevant. And from what I've found from you, Roman, is as a facilitator, you ask the right questions, you sit back, and you give people on your team the ability to bring their skill forth and provide, in all those different angles, each student with that comprehensive whole. And I'm really, I'm blessed to be here as well.
Awesome, man. Well, thanks for your time and your energy.
Appreciate it, man.
All right, brother.
Okay, so one final thought for you guys to consider. Now, oftentimes students come up to me and they ask me, I'm ready to go a little bit deeper into my yoga practice. What book would you recommend? So what I tell them to do is I say, go to Barnes & Noble, get a cup of coffee, sit in the yoga aisle, and pull out a couple books that speak to you. Now, here's the thing I recommend. When you pull out a book, if it has pictures in it, put it back on the shelf. Because the practice of yoga has very little to do with how we posture our triangle pose. And it has more to do with our perspective in this world. Now, what these three symbols, these three elements that Charles went over in the video have in common is a beginning, a duration, and an end. Now, that philosophy is a philosophy that's available for us to live. Now, when we truly begin to live from this philosophy, that everything that rises, like the A, everything has a duration, like the U, and everything falls away like the M, well, then human anguish begins to subside. In all of my research and study, I haven't found the absolute answer to eliminating completely suffering and anguish in our lives, simply because a little bit of suffering and some anguish is actually healthy. It gets us hungry. It strengthens us. It becomes negative and disempowering and literally erodes us as men and women when we don't see the world as it really is, when we fight the reality that everything that rises falls away. And one of the things that we as a culture fight, and I've been guilty of this too, is aging. Every one of us is getting older. The practice of yoga helps us to age gracefully by truly seeing and embodying whatever stage of that AUM you might be in. Maybe you're at the later stages, or maybe you've just begun the practice of yoga. But nonetheless, what practicing these ideas on the yoga mat will do for you is give you even more resources to work with and to help improve the quality of your life. Now listen, I want to thank you guys very much for taking your very valuable time and viewing these videos. I know they're adding value because we're getting incredible feedback from the community. Now before I take off, I just want to let you guys know that we're opening up a brand new studio in Sudbury. You probably heard about it. Please let people know. And we're launching our 4 Pillars of Freedom teacher and personal development program in March. Now what I have for you are 8 weekend modules of complete immersion. During the immersion, we go over largely the physical body and everything from your flexibility, your body composition, posture, strength, balance, and coordination. That is the grossest level of who we are, and that's where we see the biggest impact. People's physical bodies literally shift and change for the positive. We'll also go over mental and emotional practices, meditation practices, and breathing practices that literally empty our cups and calm our central nervous system. We'll also have 8 readings that offer inspiration. It's my observation that most people out there come to the practice of yoga because we have a lack of inspiration. And just jumping around on the yoga mat isn't enough. We need something deeper. We need a balance between the physical, we need the balance between the study of the philosophy, and then we also have to apply it in life. And these 8 weekends are going to be a really nice course correct for you, or a reinforcement if you're on track. That's our biggest challenge. When we're on track, when we're succeeding, we tend to party and slightly take for granted all the hard work it took to get where we are. So again, this is Roman from Inner Strength saying thank you so much for viewing this video. My team and I couldn't be more blessed to have you. And pass this along to someone who might be interested. And if you're interested in the teacher training, I look forward to serving you. All right, take good care.